Okay, so we've created a React front end, a Flask backend template for now. What we want to do now is a whole bunch of changes in the front end to enable the app essentially to talk to the Flask backend. We're going to do that by doing a set of changes. I'm going to run through these fairly quickly. The steps are there on the web page that I referred to. First thing first is we basically want to eject this source code for the React front end. This will create a config folder essentially that we can then go and modify so that we get the two front and back end talking to each other. So we do npm run eject. Make sure you're in the front end folder there. Select Y there to confirm that. Zoom in a little bit more. Okay, you can see it's popped up there. This config folder is largely where we're making these changes. If you're following on the web page, it's part 4 of stage 2, unpacking and making changes to front end. Okay, so sub-step 1 is to set the path for Flask. To do that, we need to go into the config folder, the one that's just been created effectively. There's a file called path.js in there. I'm just going to close for now the terminal there, and where it says app build, you'll see a line here. We're going to replace that with the same line that is on the web page. Just copy and paste it from there. It's this one here, and that's replacing this. Okay, so you can see that the build is now going to go up a level. That's the dot there. It's a relative path. So that we're at the same level as the project, basically the root, and then Flask backend is going to create a static and React folder. Save that. Still in the same file here, we also need to remove, sorry, not the same file. This is in webpack config, this one. Go to the top there. There are a bunch of mentions of static here that we want to change. We're removing a static folder here so that the relative path references the routing is correct. You see there's 9 mentions of it. So actually what you want to do is Control H there to replace static with nothing. In fact, it should be static / because we've changed. If you don't include this / it will think they're absolute references and throw an error. So let's do like this. Go back to the first occurrence and just change them one by one. Just make sure you're not, don't do everything too quickly. Be careful here. So replace. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see it's just removing static / That's what we want. To your left. Replace those, and there's nothing left. So done. Okay, so you can save that. We also need to add in a path, the correct path to index.html, where that's going to be placed in the Flask folder when it's rebuilt. So look for occurrences of that. These are all comments. There is one somewhere. Sorry, we have to add this, don't we? So this is under paths.app.html. Don't worry if you don't need to memorize that. It's all there for you on the web page. This is the location of where the where it's going to unpack the HTML file, add a line underneath, and just paste that command in like that. Save it. They need to deal with token management. this is how the information gets transferred between front and back end. That's important for doing the inference later in the deep learning app, so that we can actually get a response, what our image is showing. So again, in React front end, and in the public folder here, here's the source index HTML file that later we're going to unpack into the Flask folder. We're going to add a line. Again, take it from the web page, underneath there where it says title React app, script, some JavaScript. There's a token parameter. The token parameter is going to come, make sure you save that file. That's going to come from our source code under src app.js in here. Okay, at the moment the parameter's there, but we haven't passed it, so it's getting passed through this JavaScript file. Where it says edit and save to reload, add a line there, and then just pop it underneath there with a paragraph tag. Save that. A few more changes here. One is to add the path dependency to the package.json file. That's this one. Essentially, we define the home page here, just above where it says dependencies. Paste that in, static React like that, and that is it. We just need to rebuild. Okay. So open up the terminal again, and you want to, you can CD into it, or you can right click where it says React front end, open an integrated terminal, just to make sure you're at that location. We want npm run build. Okay, you can see a static folder has popped up under Flask backend. And that's what you should expect to see. And then there's a templates folder as well, which should have hopefully our HTML file there. It's not going to render at the moment because of the way it builds it, but that's essentially when we rebuild, all those config changes should result in a static file with all the CSS, JavaScript, and so on. Got a few more changes to make to those, but essentially that's what we want. Now we want to test this again in line with the actual web page. So we're now on step 5, test app. Now this time we want to go into Flask backend and run it from there. So you can do cd ... go up a level. A few ways to do that. Flask backend. There we go. Flask backend. We want to do Python app.py. Okay, it should open up and say it's running locally. Just press Control there, click on that link. All right, and what you should see, hopefully, is, I mean, ostensibly the same app, but you can see we've got this token has been transferred between the two sides. So you know that now talking to each other, and all we've got to do now to complete this stage is just replace the UI with something more relevant for our deep learning app. Okay, good.